Radiant Church. My name is Mark Alexander, and it's my great honor to bring to you today's Radiant Devo. It's brought to you by the book of Proverbs. That's right, chapter 20, verse 24. So let me read that to you real quick. It says, "A man's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand his own way? How then can anyone understand his own way?" Wow. God sometimes works in our lives in ways we find difficult to understand. There may be situations that we find ourselves in where we're unable to see any good or positive to come out of it. But the Bible encourages us to have faith that God is still working behind the scenes for our good, even when we don't feel Him or we don't see Him. And that reminds me of one of my favorite stories when it comes to this. You know what? That's the man Abraham. Abraham was this dude that absolutely loved God, but he was asked the ultimate question. He was actually put to the test in probably the worst way anyone could ever be put to the test, and that was God asked him to sacrifice his own son. Actually says his one and only son, Isaac. And what did he do though? He did it. He jumped to the task. He actually did everything he was supposed to do. He jumped to the task. He grabbed his pack mule and he packed it all up and got it ready. He got a couple servants. He got his food. He chopped the wood. He loaded the wood. He got the fire. He got everything ready. And then he headed out to where God had told him to go. He didn't even know the ultimate destination. And that right there sounds a lot like life sometimes, doesn't it? He leaves the two servants behind. He leaves the donkey behind. And him and Isaac load up the firewood on Isaac's back. He takes the fire. He takes the knife and he heads up the mountain. And I love this story because it's a perfect example of what God is doing behind the scenes when we don't see Him and we don't feel Him. Because see what God was doing that morning, what God did that day was there was this giant mighty ram that woke up that morning for the very last time. He didn't know that he had an ultimate amazing destination to head up that day, but he went anyway. And God coaxed this ram from the bottom of the mountain, maybe the side of the mountain, maybe a few acres away, but he coaxed him to the left and he coaxed him up the mountain, and he finds himself at the top of the mountain with his horns, probably headed after something really delicious in that thicket, but he finds himself completely stuck in that thicket chasing after whatever God had put in front of him. God was working behind the scenes. See, Abraham was faithful. He finds himself at the top of that mountain. He makes the altar. He puts the wood on it. He puts his own son on it. And as he raises the knife up, God shows up and points out the ram. Before he does it, he goes, "Look at what you did, Abraham. You did it, man. You were absolutely faithful to me in the hardest time. And now I know you'll be faithful to me no matter what comes your way the rest of your life." God showed up. And not only did God show up, God was working behind the scenes in an amazing way. And it makes me think He's probably doing the same thing for you and me. I know He is. But you know what? It's really encouraging to see this amazing faithfulness from Abraham. But it's also a little sad when I think about how many miraculous lambs maybe I missed out on in my life. Have we ever missed out on a miraculous lamb? Because maybe God put something in front of us. He put a challenge in front of us. He put someone, a loved one, or maybe a friend or a lost friend, or maybe a miracle that we need in our life. But maybe we didn't finish the fight. We didn't finish the hike. What if Abraham would have stopped and maybe never even started? What if he would have been like, you know what, it's just not worth it. I'm not gonna pack up the mule. I'm not gonna gather the firewood and chop the wood. What if he would have never left? What if he would have gone halfway and turned around at the base of the mountain? Or maybe he would have got to the tip of the mountain and he's just like, you know what, this is stupid. This is just not worth it. It's too hard. But he didn't. And he saw God show up in an amazing, miraculous way in the form of a ram. What's your miraculous ram that you're needing God to show up for? Let's not be people that stop at the base camp. Let's not be people that stop halfway up the mountain. God is working behind the scenes, Radiant Church. Maybe in this quarantine time, in our marriages, with our friends, with our relationship with our kids, with our relationship with our parents, with even work. What is God doing behind the scenes? Let's stay faithful to Him because He is the epitome. He is the definition of faithfulness to you and to me. Radiant Church, you are loved and we are here for you.